Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where the performance of Veltima fungicide can take your best result even further. I'm Joe Everett. Yesterday, I visited my local fair, Shelby County, and let's just say this. I'm always impressed to see the hard work and dedication these kids are putting into their fair projects every year. So if you have an opportunity to visit your local fair or the state fair, please do so. I promise you will not be disappointed in seeing the work these kids are doing. Some quick calendar reminders. We will be broadcasting from the Ohio State Fair Junior Market Sheep Show tomorrow, thanks to Kallenbach Feeds. Then on Thursday at the Ohio State Fair, we will be broadcasting from the Dairy Products Building. That remote is brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mid-East. While on the topic of the State Fair, let's check in with Dale Minyo for an update on the Ohio State Fair schedule.
This Ohio State Fair Open Class Livestock Show update brought to you by Farm Credit Mid-America. Looks like we jump out till almost next weekend for most events. July 25th in the Dairy Barn, the Milking Shorthorns will be in at 10 a.m. On the 26th, it's Holstein heifers, red and white heifers, and Ayrshire heifers. The 27th will be the Holstein cows and red and white cows. Also on the 26th, it's activity in the Poultry Barn at 9 a.m. The 27th, also at 9 a.m. in the Poultry Barn. In the Sheep Barn, the 26th, we'll have the South Downs at 5 p.m. The 27th will be Hampshires, and 28th will be Corriedales. In the Swine Barn, the 26th will be the Boar Goat Show at 3 o'clock. And on the 27th, the Gilt Show, and it gets underway at 8 a.m. A complete listing of all the shows and times can be found at ohiostatefair.com.
Hey, thanks, Dale, for the update. Well, ground beef prices continue hitting record high levels. Newsweek says that's despite still shrinking cattle herds and import restrictions set to push costs even higher. Government data says that the average price per pound of 100% ground beef rose to $6.12 in June, 12% higher than last year. That's also up from $5.98 in May and $5.47 in June. Industry experts say this trend shows no sign of slowing down, which means that there may be upward pressure on prices through 2026 and beyond. The average price of all uncooked beef steaks also rose by 8% to $11.49 per pound. The U.S. is dealing with significantly lower beef supplies, and that's what's currently driving up the price of beef right now. Now let's look at your numbers from this week's Ohio Crop Progress Report, which is sponsored by Unleaded 88. Save on fuel with the blue handle. Fill up with Unleaded 88. Discover more at ohiocornandwheat.org. Starting with the national numbers, corn silking was pegged at 56%. That's 2 percentage points behind both last year and the 5-year average of 58%. Corn in the dough stage was estimated at 14%, 2 points behind last year's 16%, but 2 points ahead of the 5-year average of 12%. As for its crop condition, 74% of the corn crop was rated in good to excellent condition, unchanged again from the previous week, and 7 points ahead of last year's 67%. Now, as we turn to soybeans blooming were pegged at 62%, 1 point behind both last year and the 5-year average of 63%. Soybean setting pods were estimated at 26%, 1 point behind last year's 27%, but equal to the 5-year average. As for their crop condition, estimated that 68% of the soybeans were in good to excellent condition, down 2 percentage points from 70% the previous week, and equal to last year. As we look to winter wheat, harvest moved ahead another 10 percentage points to reach 73% complete nationwide as of Sunday. That is 2 points behind last year's 75%, but 1 point ahead of the 5-year average pace of 72%. Now looking at your numbers from the Buckeye State, 40% of the corn is in the silking stage and 6% is in the dough stage. That comes at the same time as 50% of the soybeans are blooming, while 14% are setting pods. Corn is overall in line with the 5-year average, while soybeans are about 5 to 7 points behind the normal. Ohio winter wheat nears completion at 93% complete. Stay tuned. We'll be back with today's weather after this.
Hey, Ohio! The best summer adventure is almost here at the Ohio State Fair, July 23rd through August 3rd. Don't miss fair favorites like the Butter Cow, livestock animals, shopping, delicious food, exciting entertainment, thrilling rides, competitions, and so much more. Experience the Ohio State Fair July 23rd through August 3rd. Get your tickets at ohiostatefair.com.
If your summer road trip leads you to Ohio's farm country, be sure to share the road with Ohio's farmers. Farm machinery moves slowly, makes wide turns, and needs extra space to avoid obstacles like mailboxes and guardrails. Let's all be mindful and make sure everyone gets home safe and sound this year. This message brought to you by the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
You're tuned in on the Ohio AgNet. Today's weather brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
We've got dry days for the next few. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that forecast update. Sunny and very warm from today right on through the end of the week. At this point, we are not looking for any significant precipitation until we get into the weekend. Well, all right, we may see some hit and miss scattered showers trying to develop across parts of Ohio Friday, midday, and afternoon. It's not going to be full coverage, that's for sure. For today through Thursday, though, well above normal temperatures, high humidity. This is where we see our heat indices in the triple digits. Maybe we're not quite there today, but definitely tomorrow and Thursday. By the time we get to Friday, we are seeing a little bit of moisture trying to come out of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes to the southeast. As we mentioned already, maybe some hit and miss scattered showers and thunderstorms for Friday, but only about 30% coverage. Better action for Saturday and Sunday. I think combined over the 3-day stretch, Friday through Sunday, we can look for a tenth to maybe 3/4 of an inch with coverage at around 80% of the Buckeye State. Back to dry weather for early next week on Monday. Tuesday into early Wednesday, hit and miss scattered showers and thunderstorms. By end of the week next week, we're back to dry weather, but here's a nice little feature. Cooler weather coming as well. We see temperatures pull back for the very first weekend in August, the 2nd and the 3rd, and we're going to keep the dry weather around on through that next week, the first full week of August. A large chunk of it looks to be rain-free. That's a look at your forecast update. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, USDA and other fiscal year 2026 spending bills could become threatened in September if Democrats carry through on a threat to shut down the government over the president's spending clawback efforts. A new fight over the president's bid to downsize the government risk sidelining a more than $25 billion USDA spending bill. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer accuses Republicans of going back on bipartisan spending deals with Trump rescissions like the $9 billion clawback just enacted. Schumer was asked about that recently.
We are doing everything we can to keep the bipartisan appropriations process going, and they're undermining it with rescissions, with pocket rescissions, with impoundment in every other way.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune warned of a partial government shutdown this fall with Schumer under stiff pressure from his base after not blocking GOP stopgap funding in March.
The Democrats have suggested that they would shut the government down over us taking up rescission. Somehow that's going to step on the normal appropriations process. And I guess what I would point out is that rescissions have been a part of the process around here for a long time.
That includes both Democratic and GOP administrations. Thune told Fox News on Sunday that a few upcoming votes on spending bills will indicate the likelihood of a government shutdown. Republicans need 60 votes to avert filibusters, but have only 53, so they need 7 Democrats to overcome the stalling tactics allowed on the 12th appropriations bill. Well, the USDA has issued its July livestock, dairy, and poultry outlook. The 2025 beef production forecast is lower on the slower expected pace of cattle slaughter in the second half of the year. Beef production in 2026 is adjusted upward on a greater anticipated marketings. 2025 slaughter steer prices are adjusted higher based on price data through June, and the 2026 forecast is unchanged from June. In dairy, based on the recent data in milk cow inventory, dairy cow slaughter, and expectations of favorable margins in the near term, the forecast for the average number of dairy cows, milk per cow, and the total milk production have all been revised upwards for the year and 2026. Total commercial pork production in 2025 is forecasted at 28 billion pounds, 0.9% higher than in 2024. In 2026, pork production is forecasted at 28.5 billion pounds, 1.6% greater than this year. In poultry, projected broiler production is adjusted higher in 2025 on strong slaughter weights and near-term hatchery indicators. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio is your Medicaid plan for more benefits, more rewards. We know that good health means more than just seeing a doctor when you're sick. Eligible members can receive extras like home-delivered meals and family essentials, like baby carriers and kids' school supplies. Members can even earn rewards for playing mobile health trivia games. Learn more at AmeriHealthCaritasoh.com and call the Ohio Medicaid Consumer Hotline at 1-800-324-8680 to choose AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished lower on Monday, but off of the lows a little bit. There was a plethora of market news on Monday, but most of it had to do with two things: weather and demand. The central U.S. weather forecast has become a little less threatening. Yes, there is some heat breaking free, and a hot dome is going to be around, but we got plenty of moisture in most key growing areas. So even though it's going to be hot the second part of this week, it's going to be somewhat tropical with the amount of moisture that is kind of trapped in the atmosphere. So less threatening U.S. weather. And then the other side of the aisle, it was on demand. Growing U.S. corn and soybean ending stocks is a major concern. We've got a big crop out there. The EU and China are pressuring summer values with their lack of any kind of way forward on trade. Let's start with China first of all. We've heard that there is a rumor going about that Trump is going to meet with Xi either on the sidelines or just ahead of the APEC or at the APEC meeting, but that is in November. If that is true, that means we cannot expect any kind of progress on a trade deal to be done before Trump and Xi actually speak. And if it's going to be November, that is well past the time frame to sell new crop out of the field, beans or corn or anything, to China. So that was probably the biggest concern out there. Meanwhile, on the wheat side of things, Black Sea FOB prices are gaining on shorter bought exporters. Russian wheat exports in July are expected to be well below those of the prior years. However, the August book is larger and exporters are being caught too bearish. The Russian FOB cash rally is trying to pull new crop supply from the farmer. A common theme this year is that North and South Hemisphere farmers are unwilling to sell their crops across the scales due to poor and often negative margins. Nowhere is that more apparent than right here, where we're seeing the same kind of story come down on old crop. The only reason old crop is moving is we're running out of time to get it out of the bins. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. September corn 403 1/4, down a half. December new crop corn 421 3/4, down a half. And March corn 439 1/4, down a half. As we look to soybeans, August 1012 1/2, down 2 1/2. November soybeans 1026, no change. March soybeans 1058 1/2, up 3/4. As we look at wheat, September 537 3/4, down 4 1/2. December wheat 559, down 4 1/4. Now as we turn to livestock from yesterday's close, all in the pluses. August live cattle 225.22, up $1.67. October live cattle 221.62, up $1.80. August lean hogs 107.35, up 87 cents. October lean hogs 90.97, up 35 cents. September feeder cattle 327.70, up $3.50, and October feeder cattle 325.97, up $3.67. To stay up to date on all the latest agricultural news, you can always find that at ohioagnet.com. Thanks for joining us and have a great day, everyone. I'm Joe Everett, and you're listening to the Ohio AgNet.